So let's start. Staff. A staff is formed by 5 horizontal lines and 4 spaces, each denoting a musical pitch. So we commonly see the treble clef and the bass clef. But for now, we'll just talk about the treble clef, since the treble clef is what we use when we play the violin. A treble clef can also be called a G clef because the symbol encircles the note G. Now let's try to lay out the rest of the musical alphabet. Now ano nga ba yung mga musical alphabets natin? So it's A, B, C, D, E, F, G, and then we repeat A, B, C, and so on and so forth hanggang sa maubusan tayo ng pipindutin sa strings. Now, how do we remember this? So, we were taught that from the bottom, we have on the lines the E, G, B, D, and F, and we commonly use the phrase, every good boy does fine. Now, how about the spaces? If we lay out the letters or the notes, we can form the word face. So it's F, A, C, and E. Now let's go back to the musical alphabets. So, nabanggit ko kanina, napaulit-ulit lang yung A, B, C, D, E, F, G hanggang sa maubos ang kanilang line. But how do we see it? What comes before E and after F? So the notes will be represented by ledger lines. It will either be below, above, or on the ledger line. Now, paano nga ba siya sa violin? Let's look at the open strings. So the open strings are the G, which is the largest and the leftmost string, yung pinakamababa, and then D, and then A, and then E. So here's an illustration. Starting from the G string, the first finger will give an A, second will give you a B, third finger is a C, and the fourth finger is a D. On the D string, the first finger will be an E, and then second F, third is a G, fourth finger is an A. Open string A will give you a B for the first finger, C for the second finger, D for the third finger, and then E for your fourth finger. And the open string E, you can have the F, G on the second, A on the third, and B on your fourth finger. Okay, so now that we know our finger positions, let's look at note value or duration. We have a whole note, which has 4 beats, a half note, which has 2 beats, a quarter note, 1 beat, eighth note, which is half of a beat, 16th note, which is quarter of a beat. Now let's look at this example. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 iena, 2 iena, 3 iena, 4 iena. Now to sum up, in a whole note, you can have 2 half notes, 4 quarter notes, 8 eighth notes, and 16 16th notes. Let's jump to bar lines now. In this example, you can see a single line, which indicates an end of a measure. Double lines indicates the end of a section. We use this one for indicating a second verse or another section. And then we have a repeat symbol. Now, this basically means you'll have to repeat anything that is in between the repeat symbol. And then at the end, we have the end bar line. Now, let's put an example with the note duration and the bar lines. Now what happens if we remove the first four measures? So you repeat from the beginning. Now let's talk about time signature. A time signature is represented by two numbers that's just after the treble clef. So if we look at the example in number 1, we have the numbers 4, 4. The top number refers to the number of beats we have in a measure, and the bottom number refers to the note that will receive one beat, in this case, a quarter note. So in one measure, we have 4 quarter notes. Now the rest of the example would just show you what the equivalent of 4 quarter notes will be. It can be a whole note, 2 half notes, 8 eighth notes, and 16 sixteenth notes. Now in the second example, we have the numbers 3, 4. Now again, the top number refers to the number of beats in the measure, and the bottom number refers to the note that will receive one beat. So in this case, it's still a quarter note. So that means we will have 3 quarter notes in a measure. And lastly, as an example, we have 3, 8. So again, the top number refers to the number of beats in a measure, and the bottom number refers to the note that will receive one beat. In this case, we shall have 3 8 notes in one measure. Okay, so let's move on to accidentals. Accidentals are the symbols we see before the notes. So if we see a flat sign before a note, then this lowers it down to a semitone. And if we see a sharp before a note, the note goes higher to a semitone. Now to illustrate it further, let's look at this piano keyboard. So in between the white keys C and D, we have a black key. The C sharp and D flat are enharmonically equivalent. But when do we use sharps and when do we use flats? Let's look at the letters. Now these are the alphabets with sharp signs and the musical alphabet with flat signs. To put this on a music sheet, let's look at this. Now in this first example, I have 2 A's with a different pitch because I have used the accidental A sharp, but to make it less confusing, we do this. We write it as A and a B flat, since the B flat and the A sharp has the same pitch. Another example, instead of using A flat and A, we write it as G sharp and A, since G sharp and A flat has the same value. Now another example and another importance of the accidentals is the measure below. So if we see a sharp sign before a key, in this instance the A sharp, now this will affect all the note that falls in A and we change it to A sharp. The same goes with the E flat. It will affect all of the notes that falls in E and then we play it as an E flat. Now this will only end at the end of the bar line. So if we want to play the next measure, even though it looks the same, we should play it as A natural and E natural. Now on the 7th measure, you can see that I have used a sharp before the A. I can only undo it by using the natural sign. And so I can play it as A sharp, B, A natural, and then B. Okay, so now that you are familiar with the sharps and flats or the accidentals, let's move on to key signatures. Now in the C major scale, you wouldn't see any accidental. And for that reason, we have to play the musical alphabet as is. Now, how about the G major scale? So in the G major scale, we have an F sharp. But do we have to write all the sharps when we play F? No. Instead, we use the key signature with one sharp on the F line above. So this applies to all the Fs throughout the song. In D major scale, the F and the Cs will be sharp, as you can see on the symbol. It falls in the C space and the F top line, which means that you have to play it throughout the song. Now, let me just show you the rest of the key signatures. I won't go through it one by one, but now you can be more familiar and you would know the importance of it when you want to play. So that is it. Thank you so much for joining me today. I hope you enjoyed your learning, and hopefully by the end of the day, you will be able to learn how to read the music sheet in violin. So if you found this video helpful, don't forget to put a thumbs up, subscribe if you haven't, and don't forget to put the notification bell on so you don't miss videos like this, covers, music sheets, and other tutorials. So I'll see you again next time. Bye-bye.